of monitoring and evaluation. We agreed that today we will be receiving an annual report for the year 2021-2022. And the expectation is that the team will be able to speak to the extent to which they were able to execute questions as per their strategic plan impact statement and outcome, performance and detailed performance per program. That's the essence of what we will be receiving from the department. We will, without any waste of time, also welcome back our members, but also the parliamentary staff and the communication team from the parliament. And I believe that in the absence of the minister and the deputy minister, we will get an indication from the team from the DPME, who is the leader of the delegation, can take over.
Good afternoon, honorable members. My name is Tom Ngosi. I'm leading the delegation. We really apologize because we know that an indication had been given that the deputy minister was going to lead. Nonetheless, if with your permission, I want to introduce the delegation. I'm actually the acting Deputy Director General for Corporate Services. And then I am accompanied by the CFO, Mr. Magwini Njinga. And then we are also having Mr. Nomlala. His name is Dabozuko. He's the head of HR and corporate services. We also have Mr. Clement Madale, who is the head of strategy and service delivery unit within the DPME. He is the one who's going to be taking us through the presentation. And then if there is a need, then the CFO is going to be available, myself as well as Mr. Nomlala. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ngosi. It's our first today after we last met for the introduction of the business of the department following the reconfiguration of the select committee. And therefore, we are looking forward with excitement just to get a sense in terms of the work that you've been doing. Because the last time when we met, it was an introduction meeting just to make us understand the department. So without present, your face open.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to members of the committee, and good afternoon to colleagues. As Mr. Ngosi has indicated, I'll be leading the presentation, and my colleagues will assist in terms of responding to questions where there are questions of clarity. I must also apologize for the DG who could not make it due to other prior commitments. I'll try and share the presentation. I want to believe that the presentation was shared with members of the committee as was intended in the previous failed meeting.
Yeah, there was confusion from your side.
Yeah, we got confused, Chair. We missed the time and the date and everything. So we apologize for that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the presentation is visible to members.
Yes, it is, Mr. Mandara.
Thank you very much, Chair. Our presentation, Chair, has been updated in terms of the date. We have dated it today. And our presentation is structured in this manner. It outlines the mandate of the department. We'll then touch on to our core functions. We'll reflect on the vision, mission, and values of the department. We'll also talk to the strategic plan impact statement as well as outcomes. We'll then delve into the annual organizational performance for the financial year in question. Then we'll get into the detail per program. So, Chair, since it is for the first time that we're presenting to you, we think it is important for us to highlight what our business is all about. Well, we're about planning, monitoring, and evaluation, and in that regard, with regard to planning, we deal with institutional planning as well as long-term planning, and our long and medium-term planning. So, as you know, our broad guiding principle, it is the National Development Plan, which is our long-term plan, charting the country's developmental trajectory, which also anticipate and analyze the emerging trends that are taking place in the country and elsewhere in the world. And to do this, we develop what we call the MTSF, which is a guide for our midterm planning. And in this regard, the focus is to ensure that departmental plans are actually aligned with the country plans in terms of the NDP. And as DPME, we are responsible for analyzing the alignment of departmental plans on an annual basis with those long-term plans and medium-term plans. We then give feedback to departments with regard to the alignment of their draft plans. This usually happen in November and December. January, we provide feedback to department. Once that has been done, we then engage in the monitoring activity. We monitor the implementation of the NDP through the MTSF and produce biannual report, which we share with Cabinet with the intention of bringing it to the attention of Cabinet. How far are we in regard to the implementation? We identify the bottlenecks and the sorts of interventions that are required to address those. And Cabinet act on those based on our reports. The last leg of our planning, it's actually the evaluation of critical programs that we assess as having the potential to have the greatest impact. And of course, as we say, we get Cabinet to intervene where required. Now, our core functions, as I've mentioned, is planning, monitoring, and evaluation. And our vision, which has been reviewed in the past financial year, is to improve government outcomes and impact on society. That is through planning, monitoring, and evaluation. And we do this through our mission, which is to facilitate, influence, and support effective planning, monitoring, and evaluation of government programs aimed at improving service delivery, outcomes, and impact on society. Our values are grounded on being client-focused. We want to be a learning organization. We learn and try and promote progressive and quality management practices in order to enhance accountability and transparency. Chair, in terms of our strategic plan, our impact statement is at the top, which is to improve the country developmental outcomes as envisaged in the National Development Plan through effective implementation of the medium-term strategic framework, which has been revised for 2019-2024. This is the period that covers the 6th administration, and for that we have identified 5 outcome statements. The first being that we need to be efficient and effective and promote good corporate governance and ethical leadership. We want to ensure that long and medium-term development agenda is institutionalized into functional and integrated government planning system. We also want to ensure that citizens and stakeholders are contributing to the implementation of the NDP through the MTSF. And the 4th outcome is for us to ensure that government programs are monitored for improved accountability and service delivery. And the last one is to produce evidence to support the country's developmental agenda. And this is mainly done through the outcomes of research and evaluation that is conducted from time to time by both ourselves and the National Planning Coordination, which is led by the Secretariat, rather the NPC, which is supported by the Secretariat. Now, in terms of our organizational performance in our APP, we had a total of 49 targets, and those targets are broken down in terms of programs. Our programs, as you can see, they are about 6. The first one being administration, which had 11 targets. In this regard, the targets related to administration are mainly the promotion of good corporate governance and compliance with legislation. And in that regard, we had 6 targets achieved and 5 were not achieved. Under the National Planning Commission Secretariat, which is the branch that supports the National Planning Commission through research and other related administrative activities, there are 4 targets. All of them were achieved. With regard to the National Planning Coordination, which is responsible for planning alignment, this is the branch that assesses departmental strategic plans and APPs to ensure that they are aligned with the NDP and the MTSF. We had 12 targets, 11 of which were achieved. Then we missed 1 of the targets. Then we've got sector monitoring that is responsible for monitoring the implementation of the MTSF. They had 6 targets, all of them were achieved. Then we had public sector monitoring, which had 10 targets, of which 7 were achieved. 3, of course, were missed. This branch is responsible for frontline monitoring. This is the branch that puts the feet on the ground in terms of going around and making observations about service delivery. Of course, I must emphasize that we can only do so much. We are not able to cover the entire spectrum of frontline monitoring because of the vastness of the country and the limited resources that we have. Then we've got the last program, which is the evaluation, evidence and knowledge system. This is the branch that I said is responsible for evaluation of critical government programs. They produce evidence, they do analysis and produce policy briefs based on evidence, some of which is produced by Stats SA and other bodies outside of government. This is a graphical representation of the overall performance. As you can see, for that financial year, we achieved 80% of the total targets. Now, coming to administration, Chair, I will not bore you with the full details of how we achieved. I'll just focus on the red areas. One of the areas where we needed to have 100% compliance with the disclosure of financial interest, which is the backbone of lifestyle audits. We did not achieve as intended because our intention is that each and everyone who is qualified to disclose their financial disclosures, which will form the basis of the analysis of the assets of our employees. At SMS level, we achieved 98%, which is 83 of 85 SMS members. At MMS level, which is category 12, we achieved 94%, which is 51 out of 54 MMS members. And then at level 11, we achieved 89.5%, which is 17 out of 19 MMS members. And then the category that deals with occupational specific dispensation, we achieved 98%, which is 2 out of 3. And then for the staff in financial management and supply chain management, we achieved 36% out of 40. I must say that the reasons given by the various colleagues for non-submission vary from them being on leave to them being unable to access the system. We have, as a result, initiated a process to look at each and every individual case with the intention of taking corrective action where required. Where an official cannot justify or the reasons are not acceptable, we implement the consequence management. The other area where we did not achieve is on risk and anti-corruption and integrated management implementation plan, which was developed but not approved by both the EXCO and the audit committee. This was due to the rescheduling of meetings. I must say that this was the status as at the end of the financial year. However, this was subsequently achieved, but it was achieved after the financial year. We also had a target of maintaining a vacancy rate at 5%. This is a higher or a stretched target rather, in that the norm is that we must have 10%, but in this regard, we set ourselves a higher target of 5%. We did not achieve the stretch target. We were only able to achieve 7.2% as at the end of the financial year. The other one, which is number 9, which was also not achieved, relates to the target of 85% in the implementation of our ICT plan. We did not achieve in this regard because most people during the period under review, it was during the time of COVID, people were working from home, and there was a lot of support that was required, and some of the project then fell short, and thus we could not achieve as targeted. The last target, which we did not achieve, dealt with the issue of supplier development, a scorecard as required by the BBBEE Act and the Commission. We struggle with this particular target because as DPME, we've got a budget of about 400,000, which is mainly dedicated to payment of salaries and other related operational costs. And we have been struggling. We do not procure big, so it's a challenge for us to engage in constructive program that is meant to advance the previously disadvantaged. Nonetheless, it's an area that we'll be looking at and see how else can we improve if we can. Chair, on the National Planning Commission Secretariat, I've mentioned that their main issue is they are concerned with the development of monitoring frameworks for the NDP. They are also responsible for research and engaging stakeholders, and on an annual basis they produce an annual report which captures all the work that they've done, including the research, the engagement, and all that. So they had 4 targets which have all been achieved. Program 2B, which is National Planning Coordination. As I have mentioned, this is the program that is responsible for assessing departmental strategic plans which are submitted on an annual basis. We assess alignment of those plans with the MTSF NDP and give feedback to ensure that critical issues or targets as captured in the MTSF are included in their APP. So in this regard, I've indicated we missed 1 target, and this target related to the number of research report on the alignment between the national budget and government priority areas. We had set ourselves this target to produce a report to determine whether the national budget does indeed support the plans that departments produced. And we could not conclude this particular research due to delays in the procurement and securing appropriate service providers to do this work for us. I must say that this work is currently underway, and hopefully this will be concluded during this financial year. Sector monitoring, as I've said, their key responsibility is to monitor government programs such as the SONA commitments and report on progress. And they also do assessment of submissions by various departments and produce what we call briefing notes to cabinet, for cabinet to be able to make informed decision based on policy and legislation. And as I've indicated, they have achieved all their targets. This branch also look at ministerial scorecards to see what is the progress that is being made in regard to the commitment as outlined in the MTSF and expressed in the ministerial performance agreements. Program 4, as I've mentioned, this is the program that deals with frontline monitoring. They go about doing frontline. They are also responsible for what we call the hotline. So they receive complaints and make follow-ups on the those complaints that are received, and try and assist communities to ensure that relevant government institutions do address the challenges that are being raised by communities. We also look at what's happening in local government by looking at or by doing what we call LGMIM self-assessment that assists municipalities to identify their weaknesses and also come up with improvement plans to help improve their operations and therefore service delivery to the public. Chair, the last one, which is evaluations. We did produce evaluation reports, and also we conducted research and produced a report on the impact of COVID-19 in the economy, and the lessons learned were captured. We are currently finalizing the second version of that research, with the intention of us learning from these experiences that we have enjoyed and how we have dealt with them, so that in future we are able to anticipate and be able to respond appropriately. The one target that we did not achieve is the establishment of what we call the evidence hub. This evidence hub is intended to be a repository of all information that is required for planning, monitoring, and evaluation that can be used by both departments, including parliamentary committees, to look at the evidence that is relevant in their particular areas. We did not achieve this because this requires the development of a system that will enable to house all this knowledge that we're generating. And it's a long-term project which we are hoping by 2023-24 it will be completed and probably up and running. Now I come to the section that deals with human resource. And here we highlight the status of human resources in the department. I'm not going to read through, Chair. I just assume that this has been, since this has been distributed, it has been read. But key that we must highlight is that as HR, we found ourselves during the reporting period dealing with key challenges, mainly due to COVID-19, which had an impact on the movement of staff and the shortening of working hours, and the fact that we had to reduce numbers of staff in offices as it was required in terms of the Disaster Management Act related to COVID. I've already mentioned the issue of the reduction of vacancy rate, which we wanted 5%, but we only achieved 7.2%. We are also in the process of ensuring, or rather we also ensured that 5% or more of our interns are employed in the department so that they acquire the necessary skills that will prepare them for their work environment. We implemented 80% of our workplace skills plan under very difficult environment of COVID. We are on course with regard to representation in terms of males in the department. In fact, the majority of our employees are women, and we are quite a youthful department. SMS members, the majority during the period under review were women. Here we just outlining some of the achievements that were made in the reporting period under review. We're talking about filling of posts, implementation of our workplace skills plan. We're talking about employment equity, where we also have people with disability at 2.2%, which was above the national target of 2%. We break down our staff complements in terms of female representation. As I've already alluded to, we are almost 60% women. We have 52% of females occupying SMS positions. And then we highlight the bursaries that we awarded to staff. And of course, the fact that we took 7.8% of interns, and this was due to the fact that those who were in the pipeline were carried over, and we had additional ones since we were operating under COVID. I will not speak to this. I think I've already referred to it, but key to highlight is that as DPME, we had to slash our staff complements by 29 positions as a result of the reduction in the budget for compensation of employees, which has resulted in capacity constraints in some branches. And we are trying to stretch ourselves to cover the ground in order to meet our targets despite this challenge of the reduction in the compensation budget. This I've already spoken to Chair. We then come to the annual financial statement, and I will allow the CFO, if she's in a position to speak to the financials, to take the honorable members of the committee through the finances. Through you, Chairperson.
See if we can take over.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, and the honorable members. I will be presenting the appropriation statement of the department. The department in 2021-22 was appropriated a budget of 459 million, of which it spent 396 million. And in this slide, we are showing how much was appropriated per program. And the money that we couldn't spend, that we had to send to Treasury, was 62 million. And the expenditure from our allocated budget, we managed to spend 86.4% of our allocation.
Can I move on?
Can we? Yes, please. And this next slide is explaining the very first slide. It is showing the expenditure per economic classification. For compensation of employees, the department was allocated 307 million, and we spent 292. We couldn't spend 15 million, but the expenditure in terms of percentage was 95%. In terms of goods and services, it was 140 million. 141 million if we round it off, and we made expenditure with incurred expenditure of 98 million, and we couldn't spend 44 million or 45 million, and the expenditure is translated to 68% of the total allocation. For transfers and subsidies, we had 1.7 million, and we spent that. The transfers and subsidies mainly in our department, it is for household payment of leave gratuities, and when people are resigning or retiring, that is mainly for that. Payment of capital assets, we had a budget of 8.7 million. We spent 6.3 million, and we had an underspending of 2.4 million, which was 72.2% of the total budget. Payment for financial assets, wherein we write off certain debts. We had 55,000. And that the expenditure is 65,000. The next slide. The reasons for the underspending or material variances. The department spent 86.4%, as we had indicated earlier. The underspending was due to compensation of employees, and the underspending was 5% of the allocated budget. And the reason was due to vacant posts and staff turnover. For goods and services, the underspending was 31.6%. It was due to payment of commissioners for NPC Secretariat, the approval for payment was done towards the end of the third quarter, and the payments were processed in the fourth quarter. By then, we couldn't spend the entire budget, which falls under consultants and advisory services. The next slide, Mr. Matali. And still under goods and services, travel and subsistence was lower than anticipated due to COVID-19 restrictions. So most of the meetings were done virtually. So that is why there was underspending. And program 4, it was the presidential hotline. We underspent on that, but we have since now improved in this financial year. Then evaluation program 5, it was due to CDMAS program, which we are developing in this current financial year. Next slide. For capital payments, we had anticipated that we will move to a new building, and we couldn't move at that time. We're going to move in the next financial year. So we had underspending because we had anticipated to buy new furniture for the new building. Another critical matter, or another important matter that the department had was it continued to receive the unqualified audit opinion with no material findings, which we would term it as a clean audit. It obtained a clean audit for another year. But unfortunately in that, we had irregular expenditure. It increased from 195,000 to 14 million. This was due to a non-delegated official signing on a contract that was supposed to be signed by the accounting officer. So it was just a matter of not observing delegations of authority. The department is currently undertaking investigation to enable consequence management after the investigation, and also applying for condonement from Treasury. Thank you, Chairperson and members. Thank you.
Mr. Dale, can we continue? I guess we are done. You are done.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are done with the presentation of our annual report, including our annual financial statements. Thank you.
Thank you. Any point of emphasis that Mr. Ngosi would like to make before I hand over to the members to engage with the presentation?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. The only issues that we wish to bring to the attention of the committee is that this is the 10th clean audit. So since the department was established, it has been achieving clean audits, and which we thought we should let to our. But the other issue is that on the issue of that irregular expenditure that the CFO has spoken about, is that there was no loss to the department per se. So the money was spent where it was supposed. It's just that the person who signed was not delegated to do the signing. So, but consequence management is taking place as indicated. And then there was one other issue that Mr. Matale mentioned, particularly in the performance of the department, particularly as it relates to the filling of vacancies. The standard or the threshold that has been placed by, at national level by the DPSA is a 10% threshold. So the DPME decided to put it even lower at 5%. And unfortunately, we could not reach it. So, but we were still within the acceptable threshold. Those are the few things which I would like to mention. Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ngosi. At this point in time, I want to take this opportunity to then invite the honorable members to engage with the presentation as it has been given to us. Members can indicate by showing, by show of hands. Honorable Khai can hit the ground running.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And sorry, the meeting I have attended in Parliament took a little bit longer. So on the part of the department, I would like to also greet the leadership, though I didn't know, I couldn't hear who's present, but I noted that there's no political leadership.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a concern because it's the second time. The first time we had an induction because the department was given to us only this year at this, and we complained that there was no political leadership, and also there was no teaching. I suspect that there are DDGs and CFO that are present, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Chair, I would like first to congratulate the department for the clean audit, as it is indicated that it is for the 10th time. But we're a bit disappointed that in terms of program performance, it's at 80%. We always look up to this department to be an example to other departments because its responsibilities are of monitoring performance and also evaluating performance. So even though it's 80%, but we would like it to be 100%, as it is 100% in terms of financial performance, the clean audit. Though the team has clarify, because I was going to ask question around the issue of the irregular. So it has been clarified, but the concern is on the, I mean, this is a 2021-2022 annual report, which ended on the 31st of March. But there's still investigation with regard to the consequence management. Yet the issue is clear. Somebody who was not authorized to sign has signed. So I don't know why it would take from March to, I mean, 30th of November to investigate something that is so clear. To me, I think it's a reluctance to implement consequence management. The other question I would like to ask is maybe the update on the Brand SA. We are also part of a sister committee that oversight Department of Tourism. It has been indicated that Brand SA will be involved in the merger with the SA Tourism. So can we get an update with regard to that? Also, I'm raising this because the AG also raised a concern with regard to the slow pace of finalizing the merger, because it's affecting the Brand SA in terms of appointment of, I mean, filling up the vacancies in Brand SA, was that they are unable to do that because of the pending merger between Brand SA and the South African Tourism. If we could get a clarity on that. One other issue, Chair, that is raised by Auditor General is also around the issue of the MTSF vis-a-vis the department's plans. The Auditor General raised the issue of, they make an example about the issue of Operation Phakisa. I just want to go to the very issue that the AG is raising. AG says that the department is a lead in 7 MTSF outputs indication. And although all these indicators were included in the department's planning document, we identified that one indicator differed materially from the MTSF indicator as indicated below. That is, a number of jobs created through Operation Phakisa, that is an MTSF target. And it says the target is 402,950 jobs created by 2024. But what the AG has a problem with is that instead of programmatizing this or programming this particular indicator, MTSF indicator, in the plans of the department, now the indicator in the department is different. It says number of integrated operations Phakisa reports produced. It doesn't talk about jobs created through Operation Phakisa. And then in terms of target, the target in the MTSF is 402,950 jobs created. But then in the DPM, it says that 2 integrated operations .
Honorable Khai. It looks like Honorable Khai is gone. Honorable Khai. Honorable members, looks like we have lost Honorable Khai in terms of his network. Let me just check whether there are any other members that.
Sorry, Chair, I don't know how I got kicked out.
Yes,
I thought at least I'm secure in Parliament. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
I don't know if
Yes, the last sentence. We lost.
I was saying that the department supposed, in fact, MTSF is produced by EPME. So therefore it's supposed to, it is a champion. And therefore it should be the first to implement when it develops its own plans. Those plans should be aligned to the MTSF, but further it should be monitoring other departments as to whether their plans are aligned to the MTSF, so that they get monitored and also get implemented. So that's one of the issues that have been raised by the Auditor General. The other issues that I would like to get information on is because also the AGA raised the issue about the acting DGs and HODs position that needed to be. I just want to check from the TPME, how long is there a particular period for which HODs and the DGs should be acting in the departments? Because you find that sometimes you will have a HOD or DG, HOD in the form of provinces and DGs acting for a very long period. The other issue that is raised, which I would like to respond on, is around the issues of submission of draft APPs. The report indicates that there are 6 provinces that submitted the draft APPs. I just want to find out what is it that perhaps the department is doing to ensure that all provinces they do submit their APPs for review. Also in the report of the department, there's an issue of the investigation of irregular appointments. And it is said that the report, this investigation covers the period between the 1st of April 2018 to 31st March 2020. And that the investigation report was issued on the 17th of March 2021. Can the department share the findings of the investigation with the committee? Another concern is that of acting positions. I don't know if the report talked to that, the presentation talked to that, because I joined the meeting a little bit late. The head of the Office of DG, the Secretary of Planning, the public sector, monitoring and capacity development. I think the other issue, I don't know whether I pick up from the department document or from the HE, that of a fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 58,000. That is still under.
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat that, Chair? Because you.
Oh, fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 58,000. Okay. And also 808,000 that is still under investigation as of 31 March 2022. On the issue of the presenter touched on the issue of why they could not meet the target with regard to the financial disclosures. I don't know in terms of consequence management, if what action has been taken, but also if we could get an update as to whether, as of now, all the managers have disclosed their financial status, but also where they are with those that have any conflict of interest that been identified by the department, and also whether
Honorable Khai, maybe you might have to switch off your video to improve your
are linked. Okay, check. I don't know if maybe I should repeat did you get the one on
no,
whether there is any conflict of interest?
Your last one.
Or the last one, the lifestyle audit. No, I wanted to check if this financial disclosure is linked to what the government is currently doing in conducting a lifestyle audit. Then there's in the report there's an issue of the risk anti-corruption and integrity management. There's an implementation plan that was developed, but that was not approved by the EXCO. The EXCO not approved. What is if this implementation, because there's also in the report that there are reports of about 4 progress reports. How do you have 4 progress reports using the framework that has not yet been approved? I don't know what's happening. There's lights just go off. I don't know whether it's load shedding in Parliament. Yeah. Chair, let me come back because I've got quite a number of questions. Maybe let me pause for now and then come back later.
Okay, Chair, I think that's good. Let's invite other members to see whether they have any other questions to pose. Looks like members are okay. Maybe just the first, maybe from my side, the critical point that I want to raise, it's on I think it's program 2A and program 2B. Around the National Planning Commission and the National Planning Coordination. It's important to know that I think we're left with 8 years before 2030, and observation that has been made is that progress has been slow towards achieving our main goals. And to a larger degree, of course, we appreciate the fact that performance and underperformance to a larger degree was also influenced by the structural challenges that we have, but more so aggravated by COVID, which then it has a direct impact in terms of our social protection and social wage, in terms of education, health, and service indicators. But more than that, our ability to monitor the implementation and acceleration of the economic recovery and reconstruction. The question that I want to ask is because in one of the areas we indicated that one of the program was affected, which was mainly linked to the appointment of the national planning commissioners, which definitely had a direct impact in terms of the programs. One of the research projects that was supposed to be led by I believe, the National Planning Commission. To what extent do you give support, not only to the Secretariat, but also to the Commission to ensure that such challenges are not recurring, but more than that, to ensure that the ability of the national government to accelerate the success of the NDP is not hampered by such subjective factors on the part of the department, because you also did indicate that capacity constraints with regards to the program that you alluded to around human resource management. There are critical 29 positions that could not be filled because they were impacted by the reorganization of the budget following, I believe, the reprioritization of our budget as a result of the impact of COVID. And to a larger degree, this non-filling of these 29 positions contributes to the capacity constraints in regard to the key work of this department, because in the philosophy around the establishment of the MNE is well understood and very profound. But when it is also then hampered by such factors, becomes a challenge. The second point relates to what extent do you also monitor under expenditure of the departments? Of course, mindful of the fact that the mandate of the department is fully understood and appreciated, but it's an area of concern, particularly the area of underspending, because in one of the projects that I want to bring to your attention, I think you indicated that I think it's under sector monitoring, public sector monitoring and capacity development. You indicate that the department also reported on the state-owned enterprises performance report was completed on selected SOEs, which contributes towards the MTSF. The question that I want to pose is, can you help us with this report that relates to? It will be the report that relates to our sister departments, SANRAL and PRAZA. I'll indicate why the emphasis on that. The emphasis on that is because when you look at the summary of spending, particularly summary of underspending, as presented by the AG, you realize that is SANRAL, that entities that reports to us that we are also setting oversight on. Is SANRAL, is RAF, is PRAZA. Just as an example, SANRAL's budget was 36.8 billion, and the actual expenditure there was 18.9. In that there's a variance of 17.9. RAF, the budget was 59.8 billion. Actual expenditure was 51.1 billion, which means that the variance will be 8.7 billion. PRAZA, the budget was 31.7 billion. The actual 16.5, and the variance that will be 14.7 billion. The importance of also putting more focus on this is because it has a direct impact in terms of ability and capacity of our government departments to deliver services to our communities. And I guess as I indicated, we are 8 years away from our deadline of 2030. So I would gladly hear whether as part of your work, are you also putting more attention on the issue of expenditure, but not only just expenditure, but also then the issue of irregular expenditure. This is important because I was just looking at a tweet, somebody responding to the report by the AG, lambasting our government on the fact that the irregular expenditure is 51 billion. And the attack and criticism that our government got was quite profound. So other than that, let me check whether Honorable Khai also has another follow-up because members are okay. Honorable Khai?
Can I take the second round after the responses, Chair? Because I have a couple of questions.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And Nkosi and your team, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much again, once more, Honorable Chair and honorable members. Looking at the questions that you have raised, it's as if you have been in this department longer than even myself, but it shows the level of detail that you have been able to interact with the report. But first of all, maybe in response to the concerns raised by Honorable yes. We wanted to indicate that the office of the minister, or let me say the ministry in general, has indicated to us that they have sent the apology of their unavailability. And we also, when we started, apologized to the committee and the Honorable Chair that there was a confusion, particularly as it relates to the meetings of last week, or which were scheduled for last week, because we connected and we were surprised why we're still not being accepted, only to be informed that we actually got the dates wrong. So we apologize for that. But the Director General also, we had an engagement with him earlier today, and he unfortunately could not make it because of, he said he would be consulting immediately after that meeting. So we want to convey that apology once more. But then, coming to the issues that you have raised, I will deal with some and then request my colleagues to handle some of the issues. The first issue that I wanted to deal with and expose of is the issue of the brand SA and SA tourism measure as well as the filling up of vacancies within that space. Just to indicate to honorable members that we regard those departments, particularly Brand SA, as a sister department. However, it does not get any transfers in relation to its budget from the DPME. So there's a clear, distinct relationship between the two. So it is on its own. However, even though at a political level, we are reporting to the same minister. So unfortunately, we would not be able to provide a response on that. And however, we will bring this to the attention of our political leadership to make them aware that this matter was brought by the honorable members of the committee. And then the other issue that I wanted to, that I'm going to be focusing on in no particular order, you'll pardon me, Chairperson, I'm just trying to make sure that I do not come back on the issues, but I'm trying to deal with those which are within my domain. The next issue that I want to deal with is in relation to the issue of the consequence management, which was raised by honorable member, that why wait from the end of March until now to start. What we would like to indicate is that the audit process was finalized at the end of August, as members would know. And then, one other issue that we wish to bring to your attention is that the official in concern had also left the department almost around the end of the financial year. Thus, it took a bit of time to get the official to be interviewed by the relevant institutions or relevant structures within the DPME. And then the other issue, which I thought one should raise, is the issue of consequence management and all other matters related to the irregular appointments. What we wish to bring to the attention of the committee is that indeed these matters were obviously emanated from, among others, a report of the Public Service Commission, which was shared with the minister as well as the department. And the department has started processes which are underway. What do we wish to bring to the attention of the committee, however, is that the main case had been concluded. There's just a few administrative matters that we are still busy with to try to conclude them. However, all the other matters are still continuing, and we will accordingly update the committee on those issues particularly. But we want to assure this committee that all the required consequence management processes have been instituted, and a report to that effect will be provided. And then there was also the issue of why 6 provinces who have submitted their APPs. What about the others? Okay, there's the manner in which the issue of APPs of provinces are concerned is configured in a way that the DPME or provinces are required to submit to the DPME-R6, and these exclude Gauteng Province, Western Cape, and KZN. These three, not that they do not submit, they do submit, however, they submit to their own planning and monitoring mechanisms that is within those provinces themselves. So basically, that's why the three have not been included here. However, Chair, maybe if you would permit, I would request my colleagues to deal with the other issues that I have left out. I'm going to start with our CFO, if you would permit, that she deals with those matters which relate to, among others, all the financial issues, particularly the fruitless and wasteful expenditure issues.
Permission granted, Mr. Ngozi, for the CFO to respond.
Thank you, Chair. The 58,000 for fruitless and wasteful expenditure, it is for damage to a hired vehicle, which we have recommended that it should be recovered. So we are in the process of recovering that amount from the official. And the 808,000 is possible fruitless and wasteful expenditure. It must still be investigated. It's still under assessment. It must still be investigated to be 100% sure that indeed it is fruitless and wasteful. And then once the assessment process has been determined and concluded, then it's only then that we either write off or recover from the officials. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks. If you would then permit me, I'm going to request our other colleague, Mr. Matale, to tackle the other issues which are related to the performance information. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Ngozi. Matale.
Thank you, Chair. There are a number of issues raised by Honorable High. The first one relates to concerns about 80% achievement vis-a-vis 100%. That as DPME, we should be exemplary. We agree with him fully with that assertion. But for the targets that have not been achieved, we have provided detailed reasons, and most of the targets that were not achieved, it's not that they were not completely achieved, is that some of them were achieved after the reporting period. So if you take that into account, you'll realize that we have achieved more than 80%. It's only that it happened after the reporting period. The issue of consequence management for those who fail to disclose, the process have been handled individually. So each and every member who did not disclose was asked to provide a reason, and that reason was thus assessed. And we made a request to DPSA to reopen the system so that the members who did not disclose could then disclose. That has been done. And those that did not have cogent reason why they could not comply were referred to the Labor Relations Unit for disciplinary action. So that process it's unfolding. On the issue of the non-compliance of DPME plan targets with the MTSF as raised by the AG in specific reference to Operation Phakisa, where the target speaks about the creation of 450,000 odd jobs. We had a discussion in this regard with the AG, Chair through you. The challenge is that DPME does not create jobs. It facilitates the process of Operation Phakisa for sectors to create jobs. Now, we report those jobs that are created in the Operation Phakisa progress report. And the concern that the AG had was that instead of us talking about the production of a report capturing the jobs created, we should be saying how many jobs have we created. So in that regard, there's been a challenge in the manner in which the target as outlined in the MTSF has been captured. So that is the challenge that we're sitting with in that regard. Now, with regard to the implementation of risk management, Honorable High raised the concern that how do you develop a plan, but you have been reporting on a plan that is not approved. Plans for risk and anti-corruption are produced in the fourth quarter with the intention of implementing them in the new financial year. So the reports that are referred to that we said were achieved speaks to the report, the plan that was approved in the previous financial year and then implemented in the year under review. That's why we're able to produce a report. So in the fourth quarter, we're supposed to produce a plan that will start to be implemented in the new financial year starting 1st of April. So I hope that clarifies the concern of Honorable High. I think on the issue of submission of APPs, I think Mr. Ngose has dealt with that question. I think there were two questions from the chair. The one question concerned the progress, seeing that we are left with only 8 years before 2030, and the concern is that we may not achieve those targets. I think the observation that we have made, Chair, is correct. Our MTSF monitoring report, which we produce biannually, will indicate progress that is being made and the progress that we are failing to meet. The report will indicate that we're making progress in some areas such as our social related targets, whereas in the economic space, that speaks to job creation, reduction of poverty, and so on. We're not making a huge dent, and chances of us, as per the NDP vision of reducing unemployment, poverty, and inequality. Our own assessment points to the fact that those targets will not be achieved in 2030. However, we have made significant progress in the social environment. And then Chair has raised the issue as to what extent do we monitor under expenditure. And he mentioned a number of entities that fall under this portfolio committee, like PRASA and SANRAL and so on. Chair, as DPME, we do not necessarily monitor under expenditure. That is the responsibility of Treasury in the main. However, as part of our implementation monitoring reports in relation to infrastructure projects, we do highlight challenges that departments or as a country will not be able to meet certain of the targets. So part of our monitoring is such that we request the department on a quarterly basis to provide their quarterly report, which we then assess. And normally our planning coordination unit review this, and we do present to portfolio committees that request us to go and present to them performance of those specific departments. So we will not necessarily have monitored PRASA or SANRAL per se, but what we refer to on SOEs, it's SOEs like ESCOM and stuff. So we may not have focused on these entities that fall under the portfolio committee. Chair, I'm not sure if I might have missed other questions, but I think when I look at my notes, I've responded to all the questions that speaks to performance information. Thank you.
Matale, let me just check. Another Honorable Khai wanted to come back after the response. Are you still there, Honorable Khai, in terms of coming back?
Thank you very much, Chair, and also thanks to the department for clarifying the questions. Just few other issues I wanted to check, Chair. One is with regard to the ESD score that relate to the BBBEE certificate target. I think the department talks about the dispute around the verification methodology by the independent verification agent. If they can update us on that. The next issue, I think, under the National Planning Coordination, they talk of the research report that could not be that target that could not be achieved due to a delay in procurement. If they can clarify why there was a delay in procurement. Then the next issue in the annual report, it says with regard to service delivery improvement plans that the majority of the services that are provided by the department do not directly affect the citizen. That was a kind of a disappointment on my part, because I don't know, maybe I have, because it's a new department for us, I had an understanding that this is a department that would assist to indicate to departments and provinces where there are challenges of service delivery. But then the statement that says the majority of the services provided by the department do not directly affect the citizen. Because my question was going to be, how does the department drill down the issue of planning, performance, and monitoring? Especially because especially with regard to the service delivery line function departments, from time to time you will get, for example, I'm not saying they should be, but there are issues that perhaps will always come up as issues that are affecting the citizens. For example, now the school will be closing, and next year they will be opening. I would expect that the department should be its hand on the deck with regard to ensure that, for example, there will be learner-teacher support material. Those are kind of things that the department should be monitoring. Even by now, it's supposed to be knowing whether there will be challenges around the issues of LTSM. Sometimes you'll have the challenges of water supply that the department should be knowing by interacting with the department responsible for water, the state of roads, building of houses by Department of Human Settlement, even the challenges that are affecting I have that feeling that these are things that the department is supposed to be monitoring and also making those departments and entities aware, and so that they act. I'm not saying that it is an implementer, but because it is monitoring, it will be able to know beforehand that here there is a challenge, and they make a department aware based on the reports that they're receiving from departments, provinces, and entities. I was moving from that understanding. Obviously, it's a wrong understanding on my part, but also in relation to this issue of service delivery improvement plan, the department talks about the tools that it is using, which is the outcomes monitoring, frontline monitoring, presidential hotline, community-based monitoring programs that created mechanism with the public. Just on the presidential hotline, it would have been good to check if the department were to indicate at least the number of calls, and also the other mechanism, emails, faxes that they are receiving. If so that we have an idea of the number of how these instruments are used by the public, and of that number, how many of the issues that have been raised by the by the people of the country or the citizen have been resolved, how many are outstanding, because when you look at the report, it talks about providing the platform for citizens to lodge complaints and compliments. Even with the compliments, for example, how many, and so forth. But also, there's a part that says, with regard to target, preliminary investigation are conducted within 7 days of receipt. But then again, there will be another section that says preliminary investigation are not always conducted within 7 days of receipt. I think that is also a concern on my part, Chair. Why you have a target of 7 days if you don't always meet that target? Chair, going back to the issue of the Auditor General. The Auditor General raised the issue of a low submission rate of performance assessment by DGs and HODs. And it went further to say some new and acting DGs or HODs are not required to submit performance agreements and assessment. AG has a concern with regard to that. In terms of their recommendation, that the DPME should continue working with DPSA to enhance the performance management process of HODs. It even say the minister and the president should assist by raising awareness with other ministers on outstanding performance agreements, and the acting incumbents in the DG HOD's position should not act for long, and vacant DG HOD position should be filled. I think that's an area that the department did not respond to should be filled timeously. And the last point, that the acting DGs and HODs should be included in the DPSH performance management development system for HODs for tracking purposes. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khai. Maybe the last two from my side also is additional questions to the team. The report that the department has made on the real-time data center that is geographically referenced, it says that it will be established to enable the president to have a line of sight of government interventions and their impact in society. The question will be whether the department's national evaluation policy framework, does it recognizes the value of impact evaluation, which goes beyond the evaluation of the outputs and whether the framework introduces impact evaluations. Has the department undertaken any impact evaluations on the frequency of impact undertaken by departments? The last one is the reintroduction of the SONA presidential imbizo. And I must say, I think two months back, you were in my province, Upington, where this SONA, where this presidential imbizo was held. We understand that it is meant to create a platform for citizens to engage with government directly on issues that undermine their full inclusive participation in the development of the country. The question will be, how is feedback given to members of the public on these issues raised during the imbizo? Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Nkosi.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Once again, I will deal with some of the issues, and then I'll request my colleagues to assist me. On the issue of the scorecard, the BBBEE, maybe I'm going to request Mr. Madale to deal with it, because at least he has been engaging directly with the relevant people on this issue. But I'm going to focus on the delays in procurement, which caused the non-attainment of one of the targets. Chair, Honorable Chair, what one can indicate the nature of the work of the DPME sometimes becomes so or too specialized to a point that it becomes difficult to get service providers who are able to, or to provide a service that is required at a particular point in time, to a point whereby when what we refer to as non-responsiveness, we are required to restart the processes over and over again and try to throw the net even wider, and even to a point of revisiting the specifications if we find that they were such that they do not give us the kind of response that we are looking for. So it is within that respect, Honorable Chair. So it's not a matter of internal processes where we are not being able to procure services and pay for services. So it's those scarce, like extremely scarce resources or services outside there. And then the other issue which I would like maybe to focus on is in relation to the acting positions of HODs and as well as DGs. What happens there is that on a regular basis, the department monitors and it also submits reports. And even in the past, it has also been submitting reports, particularly as it relates to Parliament, to the Portfolio Committee on what is happening. So the vacancy rate it hovers around between 24 to 25%. And then, so what has been happening is that because our client in this case, it would be Cabinet. So we would brief Cabinet from time to time and also make recommendations that the matters need to be attended to. And then with those few words, I would request maybe my colleague, Mr. Madale, to deal with the other issues that I have left out. Thanks.
The floor is yours, Mr. Madale.
Thank you, Chair. The questions by Honorable Guy on BBBEE methodology and the dispute that we had with the service provider. I must say that for departments such as the DPME, the methodology that is being followed, it's a bit difficult to implement. So there is a requirement for enterprise and small business development. So in that regard, if you are a Department of Public Works that runs programs such as construction and so on, you will be able to identify small businesses, take them on board, and force the big companies to take them on board to ensure that they are empowered. But as DPME, because we are not a capital intensive department, but more a knowledge-based department, it becomes a bit of a challenge to implement the BBBEE as is proposed in the methodology. And in this regard, I know that the DG has been engaging with the BBBEE Commission with the intention of differentiating between departments as well as companies in terms of the usage of the scorecard, because the way it is, the scorecard is a one size fits all approach. So if you are Sanram, for instance, you are in the business of construction of roads, you can develop small businesses, have a program that deals with small business development in ensuring that the newcomers in that environment are actually taken on board by the big companies. And then you can be able to account that you've got a program that is responsible for developing small businesses. So that's the challenge that we have. So we took this up with the service provider to say, we do not think that as the DPME would be able to meet this. And in that regard, as I'm saying, DG has been engaging with the BBBEE Commission. I don't know if they will reach consensus in that regard. On the issue of the delay on the research report, under the planning coordination. I think Mr. Nkosi has responded to that. And then on the issue of the concern raised by Honorable Kai, that DPME is saying they do not provide services directly to the public. So perhaps it's the issue of interpretation. So when we say you are a frontline department, you are a Department of Health, it means you have got a responsibility to provide health services to the citizens. If you are public works, you are supposed to provide infrastructure and so on. So we are saying we do not provide direct services to the citizen in that context. We acknowledge the fact that we've got a responsibility to ensure that those departments that provide services directly to the public plan properly, implement properly, so that the citizen gets the benefit. But that statement was not meant to exonerate us from that responsibility. We just were flagging the fact that the services that we provide are not direct to the public, but rather indirect, in a sense that we assist to plan and monitor with frontline departments in terms of the provisioning of services. So if we apologize if this statement creates an impression that we distance ourselves from being responsible for facilitating planning and monitoring of frontline services. And then the issue of number of calls and complaints, Honorable Guy says it would be nice to have this captured. Well, it's not captured necessarily in the section that he referred to, but in the annual report, if you look at the targets, although we did not outline in fuller details the actual achievement, but we do have a target in the under program 4 that speaks to frontline monitoring and the presidential hotline resolution rate. And in that regard, if you check the report, you'll see that we are saying we did not achieve the resolution rate, which was set at 60%. We only achieved 51.80%. I think in the actual report, it will be somewhere in page 55. So perhaps the manner in which we have reported, we could have put it also in that narrative of improvement. I think going forward, we'll look at how we capture that in the annual report, so that it becomes more visible to the reader. I think on the low submission rate of performance agreements, as raised by the AG, yes, as DPME, we facilitate this process of HOD and DG's performance assessment, and we do make follow-ups in terms of submission, and then we also assist in terms of the assessment of performance. And we note the concerns of the AG. I think we have engaged with them as a department, and we indicated the interventions that we as the DPME are engaged with, because that is one of our target under program 4 in regard to the performance assessment of DGs and HODs. On the issue of the data center, there's what we call the CDMAS. This is a very important source of data, which if successfully implemented, will enable members of the public and portfolio committees and so on to access this information. And this would also speak to the issue of impact evaluations, because the evaluations that we do are at various stages. We do impact evaluations, we do implementation evaluation to see the effectiveness and efficacy of the programs. And sometimes we do evaluation of a program, whether it is feasible to undertake or not. So we do various evaluation depending on the weight that we attach. And in that regard, we develop an annual evaluation plan, which we submit to Cabinet to say, this is our priority in terms of the MTSF. These are the evaluations that we are proposing for the next year or 2 or 3, and Cabinet approved that. But however, if for an instance, there is a program that comes in that requires some rapid evaluation, we also do engage in that. So you'll know that impact evaluation normally take time, because the impact you have to implement first, and before you can actually see the result of what you are implementing. But when you do a program evaluation, that is before the implementation, you are anticipating what will be the impact of this in terms of your intended policy position. So that too is addressed fully in the evaluation framework. And I think as we interact with the portfolio committee, we will get our key programs managers to present this whenever the portfolio committee require clarity in certain issues. Our evaluation team can also zoom into specific areas that the portfolio committee will require them to zoom in order to acquire certain insights that will enable them to conduct their work of oversight. The reintroduction of SONA Imbizos, yes, this is one of the programs that has been started, and the president and even our minister are engaged in this, and hopefully this is giving some direction to our colleagues to see that the issue of Izimbizo and what is happening on the sidelines it's also captured. Yeah, I think when I look at these questions, I might have covered all of them. I'm not sure, Chair, if I might have missed some, and my colleagues can assist if I miss some that still needs clarity. Thank you.
No, Mr. Matale, you have indeed with Mr. Nkosi responded comprehensively to the questions that all the members have posed. And I think we must now take this opportunity to indeed express a word of gratitude to the team for taking time this afternoon to come and meet with the select committee. Mr. Matale is the select committee of the portfolio committee.
I'm sorry, Chair. My apologies.
Great. Yeah, the select committee. We would.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Rai, is there any outstanding question?
I'm sorry, you are closing now, towards closing. I just needed assurance, Chair, from the department. There are things that have to do with service delivery challenges that they kind of like annual. You know that this particular time you must expect these challenges. I made example of the LTSM, Learner Teacher Support Material. Would the department would be able to know the state of readiness of a Department of Education, for example, both nationally and also at provincial levels. And also the other challenges got to do with the students. Every year, university students, where the issues of registration, issues of NSFAS, you will always have challenges. You find that at the beginning of the year, there are protests and all those things. My belief is that these are things that they need to be monitored before they even happen, and they are preparation on time before these things happen. Because they tend to be like annual challenges. You know that around February, you'll have those challenges. I don't know why government would not have a plan that will deal with these things once and for all. I'm sorry to come in because I thought that I may not be have a good sleep if I don't raise it. Sorry for coming at this stage, but I wanted just say assurances if those kind of things. I'm not saying everything, but those that you know that around January, February, you'll have those kind of challenges. Yeah, thanks, Chair.
Thanks, thanks, Mr. Hai. We'll give Mr. Mkosi to just put comfort to that concern, Honorable Hai. Mr. Mkosi.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Hai. The manner in which the department conducts its work, it's almost in a form of a cycle. For example, it starts with the planning processes. Thus, the department's role would, for example, assess the annual performance plans as they are presented, and then and monitor those and evaluate the performance of departments. Thus, it happens like that on a regular basis. But apart from that, then there are regular meetings with the planners from the various institutions of government, including provinces. And then in addition to that, we then have every beginning of the year, for example, the frontline service delivery monitoring component do the actual physical visits in institutions. And actually you will be shocked because of the enormity of the frontline service delivery work that is done. Almost when kids are going for the closure of the first term, there would still be our teams monitoring what has been happening in schools. And actually at some point they made a joke that it's March already and we're still talking about back to school campaign. It's because of the monitoring work that is still going on even during that time. So, and then when some of these issues are brought to our attention, in whatever form, we ensure that we pursue them by developing reports from time to time, which we share with the relevant institutions. I will give an example. not so long ago, we were dealing with a exclusion of students, particularly those who were doing the old curriculum. I think it was BPROP, particularly from the University of Limpopo. And we had to intervene, obviously, first by engaging with the relevant department. And then, and in that instance, for example, our presidential hotline was in the forefront of those. So those that we are able to deal with and intervene, we do so. And but in most instances, as one had indicated, that our client remains the various structures, and we raise them there very sharply. Maybe to add to what my colleague Mr. Matale had indicated, for example, when he said that he would recommend that we secure the evaluation team to brief the select committee on the nature of their work or the nature of their evaluation work. One maybe would go further to indicate that the reports, I think it was also the request which had been raised by Honorable Khai, that we also share the reports that we're producing on a variety of work that we're doing. I will leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Chair, you are muted. If I can add, if I'm allowed.
Yes, Mr. Matale, can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the issue that is being raised by Honorable Khai, it's a critical one. Normally, when we do monitoring of the issues that is raising, I know that the one target that is there in the MTSF speaks to the issue of NSFAS, its efficacy. So it's being monitored and gets reported through the biannual report. We used to do monitoring. There was a target in the MTSF that specifically used to monitor the issue of school readiness, the supply of workbooks and so on. However, that target was since removed. And this was after there was, I would say, a view that schools are now, or provinces are now more equipped to deal with that, and therefore there's no need to follow it up. But it's raising a critical issue, which in my view, it's a matter that can be raised so that when we develop the next MTSF, we review what sorts of targets should be included in the MTSF, including some of the concerns that is raising. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Matale, for that additional points, or in addition to what was given by Sankosi. I want to believe that at this point in time, our members are now happy at ample opportunity to engage, and were able to get feedback from Mr. Ngozi and the team. I want to take this opportunity to indeed express my gratitude on behalf of the select committee for the manner in which we have prepared and also responded to the engagement raised. You have promised us reports in terms of the work that we have done. Among them will also be the progress report in relation to the implementation of the NDP through the MTSF reports. Some of the reports that we are looking forward to receive from the team. And we are looking forward to our next engagement. And I believe that you were able to appreciate the concerns raised, but also matters engaged on by the members. The important probably maybe in your report, just to give us a sense in terms of the impact of the DDM model, because it's a program that was introduced by the president with a particular emphasis in terms of coordination and collaboration between the three spheres of government. But also I think it's a build up in terms of what has been done in the past. Remember that in the past we had urban renewal, we had integrated sustainable rural development program, we had also rural development. All these programs are geared towards ensuring that there is synergy in terms of what all the other two spheres of government are doing with the national sphere. So we'll definitely appreciate that, but I think we will officially engage with the office in terms of that. But other than that, thank you, Mr. Ngozi and the team. You are officially excused as we continue our work of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Committee Secretary, can you advise us?
Thank you, Chair. Just checking the numbers of members on the platform. Let me just double check. It's Honorable Dango. I can see Honorable Mama Rakhane, Honorable Aplene, Honorable Khaye, and yourself, Chair, which is 5.
Yes.
Yes, so we are correct.
Okay, good. Let's. What can we start with the minutes?
Yes,
Or
Chairperson.
the report. Let's deal with the oversight report. Or do you want us to start with the minutes?
No, we can start with the oversight report.
Okay, good. Who's gonna take us through just some key silent
I'll
features?
request Madia.
Good afternoon, members. I'm not sure if members want me to go through the whole report or just go straight through to the recommendations, but I'll be guided by the members.
Just the recommendations and because I think that's what we are interested in. Or what do you think, Honorable Khai?
Yes, Chair. But if there are any observation, maybe observation and
Yes, observations and recommendations. Let's do that. Observations and recommendations.
Cheese, the observations are throughout the report. It's not just in one section. There's quite a few observations.
So they are captured. They are captured.
Yeah, they're
recommendation.
throughout the report. Yeah, they're throughout the report.
Or let's deal with the recommendation then.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Enrico. Okay, the recommendations are as follows. Recommendation 1, over the 2023 medium term, the national ministers responsible for transport, roads, public enterprises, energy, water and sanitation, including trade, investment, including infrastructure and small business, working together with a member of Executive Council responsible for economic development, transport and roads, including the John Talo Khatsewe District Municipality, need to develop an integrated plan to operationalize the strategic integrated project 5, SIPF Saldanha Northern Cape Development Corridor, including the K2 Industrial Park, The plan should be submitted to the Select Committee on Trade, Economic Development, Employment and Labour, Small Business and Tourism, and Transport, Public Works and Infrastructure, and Public Service and Administration by the end of the 2023-24 financial year. Recommendation 2. Further, over the 2023 medium term, the Ministers of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and Trade Industry and Competition should engage the Minister of Finance to consider establishing the Regional Economic Development Fund to support local government authorities to fund and finance local economic development initiatives and establish capacity and capability to manage local economic development. Recommendation 4. Over the 2023 medium term, the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Tourism and Arts and Culture, Sport and Environmental Affairs must develop an integrated plan to support local government to fund development programs that seek to spur growth of the creative economy, tourism, nature-based tourism and sport. The ministers responsible for these sectors must engage the Minister of Finance to consider funding for these development initiatives. Local government authorities need to prioritize and fund tourism development initiatives. Recommendation 4. Tourism industry remains a critical strategic industry that needs cross-sector support ranging from roads infrastructure investment and including water and sanitation, energy, transport, information and technology. Over the 2023 medium term, the Minister of Tourism must engage all relevant ministers responsible for transport, roads, public enterprises, energy, water and sanitation, including trade investment and infrastructure, and small business, working together with a member of Executive Council responsible for economic development, transport and roads, including the John Talo, Hatsewe and Francis Baard districts, to develop a plan that will support tourism development initiatives and submit such a plan to the Select Committees on Trade, Economic Development, Employment and Labour, Small Business Development, Tourism and Transport, Public Works and Infrastructure, and Public Service and Administration by the end of the 2023-24 financial year. And those are the recommendations, and the report is to be considered. Thank you, Chief.
Chair is muted. I don't know. I see on the list that is muted. I don't know if he...
My apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect it's the time of the day. We have been busy since 10 o'clock. The road and transport plan, maybe we could find a way to accommodate it because I think the presentation that we received from John Tao did not have the road and transport plan of the district. I don't know how we can capture that. The second one relates to when we were in Katu, the Kele, I think where they are operating, they needed, there is a permission that they were requesting from the department with regard to the roads. I don't know whether I can still remember the correspondence from Kele and Kumba, their interaction with the department. Maybe let's ascertain that first. Supega?
Chairperson, my apology. There was people in my gate. I was attending to them.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I missed the other part because I also have to move, you know.
Yes, no, the first one is it what the presentation that we received from John Talakhatse district, it was mainly on local economic development. It had one of the parts that was missing was the road or the transport plan of the district, the entire district. Can we also include it as one of the observation and then the recommendation that we received the John Talakhatse district transport plan?
Chairperson, we didn't receive. They didn't send.
Okay. I'm saying that, look, the representation that we received from them was
Yes,
mainly on local economic development. The part that deals with road and transport plan was missing from their presentation.
yeah.
Infrastructure generally. Can we make an observation and then also then a request that it also be submitted?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I will consult with our colleagues, more especially.
Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Right. And then the second one was the Kele mining. Remember, we met with Kele mining at Namaquarie Lodge with Puma Mine. There is a request that they have submitted to the Department of Public Works for permission in one of the roads. I suspect it affects their mining operation. So it needs permission from the department to allow them to operate. I think I forwarded to you the correspondence that they said to us. Can you still remember that?
Chairperson, I will have to go through.
Okay, but I think it's fine. Other than that, maybe let's hear from other members. What are the members saying about the report?
Chair, can I just check if maybe in the recommendation there is any recommendation around the issue of the about municipality in relation to, if you remember, I think Department of Roads was complaining about non-cooperation by the municipality. Yeah. So I just wanted to check in the recommendation if there is anything that talks about
Yes.
that. I was going to suggest, if not, that perhaps we could have a recommendation that as the committee to invite the municipality to come and account about their role. Yeah. If there is no specific recommendation with regard to the Francis Party municipality. I'm not sure if I'm wrong. Is it? No, it's Kimberley. What is the name of Kimberley?
The Sol Plaatje municipality.
Oh, Sol Plaatje. Yeah, it's Sol Plaatje. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sol Plaatje municipality. Yeah.
It is captured in the body of the report, but it's not in the recommendation.
Yeah.
Where they reflect the impact of the water leakages.
Yes.
Around the flooding of the R31.
Yeah. But I was going to suggest that maybe we need then to recommend that the recommendation that we should then invite the municipality to come on and account and maybe put their position on this particular issue and how.
Yes, I think I agree with you on that, Chair. Yeah. Maybe what we could also do, find a way, even to ensure that because what became quite clear was that the bulk of the water that was there was as a result of the water leakages from the pipelines. Yes, I agree with you on that.
Other than that, I will move, because I think the people that were there in terms of today's meeting, it was yourself, myself, and the Honorable Mamarakhane. Honorable Dango was not present, and the Honorable Apleni.
Yes. So the chair is moving for the adoption of the reports as amended. Yes, I second the.
I did not get you, Chair. What? Honorable.
No, we're saying that with the oversight, Honorable apologized. He was not part of the oversight to Northern Cape.
Oh yes, Chair.
And Honorable Dango.
Honorable Dango. Thank you. No, I second the move. The move to adopt the report, Chair. The report is thereby duly adopted. Let's then agree that I suspect, depending in terms of when we seat, we will have to get just a report to be tabled and a brief version, which will enable the presenter to do that in 10 minutes. I've realized that with the last two oversight reports that we were given, the members could not finish presenting the report because it was too long. So if the committee secretary and the researchers and the content advisors can prepare the report that we can be able to deliver in 10 minutes when we just a speech or how it is prepared. Thank you.
No, I think the full report can be 80 seats, but then
yes.
the presentation itself can be summarized.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. That's that is exactly what I was saying. Are you happy with that, Tibega and Madia?
Sorry, Chair?
I'm saying that are we happy with the approach?
Yes, so Chair, like my Chair was saying, we will see the full report, but then obviously when this report goes to the House, we will prepare together with our content support staff, we will also prepare just a summary for members so that they can they can present this report within 10 minutes.
Thank you. Let's move to the minutes. This is 3 sets of minutes. Enrico. We start with the sets of minutes of the 26th of October, where we were hosting the Public Service Commission on its annual report. The attendees are as captured. And the apologies, and then the guests are indicated to were there. And then our staff. Those were the issues that were captured and comments made by the honorable members in terms of what was presented to us and the observations and recommendations that were made. Thank you, Committee Secretary. Members, those are the minutes. Is there any comments to be made to the minutes, addition, subtraction, in terms of what has been presented to us? Can we get a mover then for the adoption of Honorable Khai?
I move for adoption, Chair.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khai, for moving, and thank you, Honorable Tango, for seconding. Let's then move, and therefore the minutes are truly adopted. Can we then move to the minutes of the 2nd of November 2022? Is the provision by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure on the annual report. Those are the members that were in attendance. Let's just hold it there. Okay, yes. Just look at, yeah, that's fine. Let's move. These are the attendees. in terms of our best from the Department of Public Works. It was led by the Deputy Minister Kivich and our parliamentary staff, also in attendance. And the presentation on the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, key programmatic areas were outlined, and then the members made their various inputs and comments. The Honorable Khai.
I move, Chair, for the adoption.
Thank you, Governor. Can we get a second up from? Can we get a second up?
I second, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mamar Khani. Therefore, the minutes of the 2nd of November is duly adopted. The third set of minutes is the minutes of the 23rd of November. It was the presentation from the departments. That's correct that. That's correct. The agenda there.
Thank you, Chair. It will be corrected.
Yes, because we have just hosted them now. Okay, good.
Yes. Now,
right. Let's move forward. Also the opening remarks there. Can you see it? That opening remarks again. Reference is made to the Department of Planning, Monitoring, Evaluation on this annual report. I think it's correct because remember what happened was that the meeting did not take place. The meeting was postponed because of the non-attendance of the department. I think though there's nothing wrong to be corrected, Committee Secretary. This is a true reflection because I remember we were supposed to host them, and because of the confusion that Mr. Matale alluded to, we could not proceed. Can you get a mover for the adoption of these minutes?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Khai. Can you get a seconder? I know that Honorable Lapin was there too. Can you get a seconder?
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Planning. The minutes are therefore duly adopted. Again, let me take this opportunity to indeed express a word of gratitude to the attendance by all the members. It has been a hectic year. Was after the reconfiguration of the department of the select committee, we had to reshuffle our program to be able to accommodate the work of the DPD. But through your commitments and sacrifice, we are where we are today, and indeed it has been a fruitful year. We are almost done for the year, but before that, let me give over to Honorable Khai before I close. Honorable Khai.
No, you can close, Chair, but then after that, as we requested yesterday, that will be given.
Oh yeah, there is an item. There is an item that is still outstanding. Let's deal with that item, yes.
Yeah, okay. Let me just take this opportunity, Chair, to ask Mr. Bazia to flight the minutes of the 8th, and then I'll hand it back to you.
Yes, or is Chair, on my side, let me formally close and then allow you then to take this take this because now let's not conflict because
Okay.
that was the sister committee that was closing. I think you will then obviously also from your side deal with that. I was just saying that from the Select Committee on Transport, it has been quite a fruitful year. It has been quite a hectic year. And on behalf of the members, I wish all the members a happy end of the year, Christmas and a happy New Year. Thank you. What do you want to provide?
All right. Then let's perhaps formally then open the meeting and welcome all honorable members. Smarty, I'll just check if we have a quorum, because now we are having the Select Committee on Trade, Industry, Economic Development, Small Business Development, Tourism and Employment and Labor.
Yes, Chair, we do. We still have a quorum, Chair.
Any apologies?
I would assume that the apologies from this morning stand over to this afternoon, Chair. I think there's an apology from Ms. Boshoff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, also Mr. Bratter said. Then there's also apology in the last the meeting of public service that Honorable Moshodi was to catch a flight. So that's another apology. Can we, as we indicated yesterday, that because the minutes of the 8 were not available, so we agreed that we will be dealing with them today. They are being flighted now. And can I ask Mr. Bazia to scroll down to those that were present? Or the chair was out of the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Bazia. Honorable members, are there any corrections or omissions? If not, can we have a mover and the seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the 8th of November?
I so move, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dango. Any seconder?
I second, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mama Rakhane. That then come to the end of the meeting. We will also take this opportunity.
Chair, before the end, an update on the study tour.
Oh yes, sorry.
Good.
Sorry. Last week we had the honorable members management meeting as we were promised, and we agree on a proposal that was made by Honorable Dango that for next year, because now the countries that we had intended to visit were indicated that the period was not okay, was not, because it was the date that we targeted was in January, and the parliaments in those countries, Indonesia and Singapore, indicated that they would be on recess. And we then took the proposal of Honorable Tango of visiting Germany and UK in the first constituent period of 2023. That period will be from the 3rd of April to the 17th. So it also gives a chance to members who are still to apply for passport, official passport, to do so on time. We have approached the international relations under Honorable House Chairperson Ngwenya to assist members. So that is a situation, unless there's something I'm leaving out, Chair, if you can add.
No, Chair, you have correctly captured. We have correctly captured the outcome of the meeting that was raised. The only outstanding issue that I want to check, did the management committee meet as we requested them to do, or they are still waiting for the process to run?
Shupega? Is he still attending to his visitors?
Thank you, Chairperson. Look, Chair, we have agreed as a team that the content team will develop a document that we will use to the letter that we will send to DIRCO. So the plan is to send the letter before the end of the week, this week. We are still waiting for the input from the contact team. They promise us that at least we will have it by tomorrow. So then the letter will go out before Friday.
I saw Content Advice had a hand up.
Dr. Clark?
Thank you, Chairperson. No, I wasn't sure if Rebecca was back. I just wanted to give the same feedback that he has just given.
Oh, okay. All right. No, thanks. Yeah, I think then we will be updated. I think next year, because this is our last meeting. The next 2 meetings next week and the following week will be plenary sessions, so won't be having committee meetings. I've just been made aware that I thought that our last day was going to be will be the 6th of December, but I've just been informed now that it's the 13th.
Yes.
And I wasn't aware. Let me also take this opportunity to thank all honorable members for their attendance and participation this year of 2022. I know it has been a difficult year for some of the members, especially Honorable Dango. He lost his wife, he lost his sister. It's been a difficult year. We also wish Honorable Landsman, who was given a leave by the NCOP plenary. He also lost his wife. So as such, his health is not well, good. So he has been also given a leave to recover. We wish him well. We hope we will be with him next year, 2023. We will also be very busy as this committee next year. We'll be continuing, I think we'll be occupied by the two bills that have attracted the heightened interest, the copyright bill as well as the performance protection bills. I don't even think that we'll be able to consider any other work except that we'll be mainly focusing on those two bills as this committee. Otherwise, thank you very much, honorable members. Wishing you all the best here during the festive season. Hope to see each other next year. Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and our support team.
Yes, indeed.
Our support team, the secretariat, the researchers, the content advisors, the communication team, Parliament, and the PMG. They have been with us for the whole year. So a happy Christmas to all of you. And we want to see you quite energized, refreshed, and ready for 2023. In terms of the two bills that we'll be dealing with, from the advice of the team, we have agreed that we are only going to have a workshop on expropriation because of the nature of what what the law of property involves, and the broader scope of property regime did ultimately influence our approach, meaning that in relation to the other bill from NA on transport, will allow the department just to come and brief us, then follow the normal process that we follow. The only one where we're going to have workshop will be on expropriation. Other than that, Chair, I'm happy for what the closing remarks that we have done, and let's allow the team to relax between now and next year. Only as members will be busy until the 13th of December. Remember, after the 13th also is the NGOs national conference that we belong to. I hope the Honorable Apeni will wish us a happy success, a good success with regard to that national imbizo. Thank you. The meeting stands adjourned.
Recording stopped.
Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Yes,
Before you go, Chair, don't forget I've emailed you the program. We need to submit.
okay, all right, no,
No, it's fine. I just wanted to remind you. If you can look at
Okay,
it, then at least revert back to us.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay.